As EVs increase in popularity, there is an increasing amount of conversation around whether they're actually good for the environment, whether they're actually cleaner than an internal combustion car. With plenty of people claiming that they're not only as dirty, but once you look at the battery production, they're actually dirtier. I decided to dig into this, get some facts, and form an opinion about it, and today I want to share it with you. All right, welcome back, my friends, to All Cars. I appreciate you being here. I'm John, and I've talked a lot about EVs on my channel. If you haven't seen them, be sure to check them out before. And I'm torn on EVs. I love the idea. I love the technology. Modern EVs feel like the space shuttle, right? They're just ultimately cool, and they are going to give a lot of flexibility to manufacturers, I think, in terms of style and space usage inside. You already see this in some of the trucks that are coming out and some of the cars as well. But you don't have to go very far on social media to see people claim that it's all a scam, that EVs are as dirty or dirtier than a regular average internal combustion car. As a matter of fact, just this morning while I was getting ready to produce this, I was reading an article about lithium mining and saw this comment that I'll put right here on the screen for you, claiming exactly the same thing. So I decided, because I have an engineering background, I needed to go dig into this a little bit and start to get some facts. And luckily, because EVs are becoming more popular, there's an increasing body studying, getting the information to really determine what's right and what's wrong in this space. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you don't like outside research studies, you don't like research papers, and you don't like government sharing information, you're not going to like anything about this video. But we have to have some level of information to base an opinion on, other than just sharing it on social media and what we read in comments from other people. And so the way I look at it, EVs are really dirty in one of two ways. The first is the actual, where is the production of the power, and the second one is the production of the car itself. And we're going to dig into those. Stay tuned to the end, because I don't think EVs are perfect. I still think there's a lot of limitations. I've said many times I think that they are premature in the market, even though people are looking at a 2030, 2035 horizon. I think there's a lot of limitations here, but let's jump into it. And so the first one is that the ICE car is actually better, because whether your greenhouse gas emissions at the tailpipe are zero for that battery powered car, all you're doing is you're pushing the production of that power further this way into the power plant itself. And so internal combustion cars run very clean, and if you've got a coal-fired power plant, you're just producing dirty electricity. That's partially true. Those power plants run at a much higher efficiency level than the roughly 20% that you get from an ICE car. And not every power plant is coal. So you add natural gas, and then you add hydro, you add wind, you add solar, you add nuclear in there, and all of a sudden the production becomes a lot cleaner. So it depends on where you live. EPA has a great website. I'm going to flip over here and show you, but they have a great calculator that we can use to actually take a look at this, called Beyond Tailpipe Emissions Calculator. So it allows you to choose your vehicle. So let's say 2021, and I'm going to use a Tesla. And I want to say that I'm going to use the long range all-wheel drive. I love the fact that there are so many EV choices now. You know, Volvo, Volkswagen, Audi, everybody else is producing, and the Chevy Bolt, for example, is producing EVs, and it's just going to increase. I love the selection, especially when we started with like the Mitsubishi i-MiEV and the first generation Nissan Leaf, right? This is wonderful to see what they're doing with EV technology. But let's start here with this Tesla Model 3, and that's my zip code right there. And what it does is it compares your greenhouse gas emissions to an average gas vehicle, car with the average fuel economy, electricity mix, and in my zip code, that car in my zip code. Now I think most of ours comes from nuclear power. There's a nuclear power plant really close. We've got a few nearby, and then we've got some coal and natural gas as well. But, you know, just out of curiosity, let's pick something, well, how about this? How about a, what's interesting here? I know, the Mach-E. Let's do the Mach-E extended. So it uses a lot more electricity than that Tesla, but still way below the average new car vehicle. So why don't we do this? Why don't we change location? Because it could be my power plant mix. Let's do 90210, Beverly Hills. Not that you drive a Mustang in Beverly Hills, I imagine. Look at this, it's actually cleaner. This is amazing to me. This is actually cleaner electricity than what I get in my area. That's really surprising to me. And then finally, let's look at I think that's a Houston zip code. Yeah, okay, so substantially dirtier. I imagine they use a lot of oil, but still better than either of the other two. It's amazing. It's fascinating. So you can go in. I encourage you. I'll put a link to this below. Go play with your zip code and cars and see how your power mix. But largely, fact one is a little debunked, that even if you have the average US car over here, the tailpipe emissions are going to be cumulatively dirtier than using a power plant nearby. Now, if you look at this in China, it would be different. They use a lot of coal, but they're moving away from it, even as they build more plants. It's going to become cleaner, but even studies over there have shown that EVs are still cleaner using the dirty power because of the efficiency of those power plants. But the second fact that is thrown out there is that beyond where you're producing the power and how dirty that is the manufacturing, primarily for all those batteries in a car, is much dirtier than a traditional ICE car. And so I found this is also from the EPA, where they actually say right here, myth number 5, electric vehicles are worse for the climate because of the battery manufacturing. And of course they have to go study this. Now, this is interesting. Lithium mining is good old-fashioned mining. You dig huge pits in the ground to extract this mineral. It is pretty common. It is pretty common mineral. There's a lot of it out there. The restraints, the constraints we have right now is the massive increase in the demand of lithium by largely the expansion of lithium batteries for automobiles and the production of the batteries themselves. So once you think about you're digging into the ground, you're using those diesel trucks probably to pull this ore out, transport it somewhere else. Is it really cleaner? Well, the Argonne National Laboratory did a study on it, comparing a gasoline car and an EV, both with a 300-mile electric range. And interestingly, what they found is that the EV is dirtier to produce. You can see the blue right here. The gasoline car is much cleaner. I mean, both cars have maybe a steel or aluminum body and a steel frame and all the, the plastics that you put inside of it. But once you take a look at the operation of it after production, the green areas right here, the EV is still so much cleaner in greenhouse gas emissions than the gasoline car over its life. So take these two facts together, and no matter how you slice it, an EV is cleaner. Now, there is an issue here, and I'm going to tie it into the last thoughts, that I still think that we're a little ahead of the curve. I know we're talking about an 8 to 14 year horizon when most manufacturers are planning on switching over and becoming at least mostly, if not completely 100% EVs, but there's still some hang-ups in all of this. And I think technology and some commitments by regulatory officials will solve these, but they all have a lead time ahead of them, and I just don't hear a lot of the conversation around this. The first is the network, the power grid. This is the big one for me. If we have power grids failing because of snow, or we have rolling blackouts in some cases because of high temperatures, then if 20% of the cars are suddenly plugging in. It's a demand that nobody is talking about in terms of power plant production, which is a multi-year or multi-decade process, and expanding and securing the actual power grid itself. That doesn't even begin to address all the people that in 8 years might have limited choices for gasoline-powered cars or hybrids, and they live in an apartment or somewhere without a garage that they can't easily plug it in. All of the businesses that would have to start installing chargers. There's a lot here to talk about, and I don't hear a lot of conversation about it. Part of that is also the simple fact that you've got Tesla and you've got all the other manufacturers that have their own proprietary charging. I believe there has to be a move, there has to be a consolidation in charging type and charging ports, so that if you work at a manufacturer that has Tesla chargers but you decide to buy that Ford Mustang Mach-E, you've got to have somewhere to charge it. Number two is the environmental factors beyond the actual greenhouse gas emissions. That lithium, the mining, the dramatic increase in mining we have to have, which is largely controlled by the Chinese, and the production of lithium batteries can be very, very, very dirty, and the production is by the Chinese. That brings up some security issues for me, national security issues, as well as, are they really protecting the environment? That pushes dirty production over here versus in our backyard, and that's part of why the US is not a leader in lithium, is because of the environmental regulations we have. We just have to get it from somewhere else that has more lax regulations than we do. And then finally, the batteries themselves and their lifespan. They will wear out. While you can hear manufacturers say that their batteries are tested to 1 million miles or whatever, they fail, they wear out, they get in accidents and things like that. And there's not a robust recycling plan right now. There's a lot of challenges around that. But research has been really pushing forward on that, and I think they've had some pretty good breakthroughs in it. It's not where it is. I don't think it is let's say 50% of the cars are being sold are EVs, and that there is the infrastructure or the technology yet to take all those and reuse the materials instead of just ripping more out of the ground. That's another one out there that I think we're just premature on the whole thing. I like EVs. I really do. I'm not here to be negative about them all the time, but I think we're premature rushing towards it. I think there's some larger issues that need to be planned out, and I just don't see anybody doing it. Certainly in the United States, I don't. But the point of this video is for those who believe that EVs are just a scam and that they're just as dirty as anything else, if not more dirty. Well, all the data that's been assembled right now says that's absolutely not the case. No matter how you slice it, EVs are cleaner. But personally, I just don't believe they're quite ready for prime time myself. But that's my opinion, and that's why I'm not buying one. Let me know your thoughts below, guys. I appreciate you being here, and if you got some value from this, please don't forget, subscribe, give me a thumbs up on this video. It really helps for the YouTube algorithm.